Everybody, welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's show, our guest is Jesus Campa, and I really look forward. He's got some really cool stories to share. So thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to a great conversation.
Excellent. All right, we're going to start with, just tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so, I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, which borders Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Ciudad Juarez, Mexico is one of the most violent cities in the world, and El Paso just happens to be one of the safest cities in the world. So it's kind of funny.
Really?
That the border is, it's really kind of odd. But I think a lot of that has to do with the great law enforcement that we have in our community. And, I was a proud member of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for 20 years. My expertise is in law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement for 27 years, retired this December 2020. So, I retired.
Recently retired.
Yeah. And I'm I'm busier than I was before. Running both my companies and being a guest on the podcasts and finished writing my book and stuff. So, I'm married, have 3 beautiful kids, and just looking forward to that next chapter in life, see what it brings.
That's awesome. So you said you had 2 businesses. What are they?
Yeah, so I own America's Best Strategic Security Group, which is a security consulting, security guard service. We've been in business. Well, the consulting part's been in business for almost 20 years. And then I finally went ahead and incorporated back in 2017 and started offering a guard service and monitoring camera and alarm systems. So we do that. Then in 2018, I decided to start Leading Through Adversity, which is a leadership development mentoring program that we have created for current and future leaders that are out there that need a place to vent.
Nice.
When you get to the pinnacle of your career at the highest level, it's hard to distinguish who is around you because they really want to be around you as opposed to how you benefit them.
Yes.
So we're kind of a safe haven for leaders, to bounce off ideas, vent with us, and then vet other ideas that they have. So that's what we do.
Nice. That is really cool. I haven't heard of another business like that where leaders can go, and especially that venting part.
Yeah, we kind of found a niche that was missing, and I know that when I got I've been a chief of police twice and a state director, and I know that when I got to the top, I couldn't distinguish who my friends were. Even when I became the chief deputy in El Paso County, you'd be surprised how fast you lose friends and how fast you gain new ones who are.
Yeah. It's almost like when you win that $1 million, all of a sudden you've got family that you never knew you had.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, hey, I've always stood right there with you. I'm like,
who are you?
It's like you're the guy who criticizes me the most. How the hell?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's actually this song that I really, really love that goes along with that whole idea of you don't know who your friends are once you make it to the top. So it's by Jessie J, and it's Who's Laughing Now. And in it, she talks about the high school kids that are coming. They're like, oh, hey, I got pictures of us from high school. Isn't that awesome? And she's like, no, you used to make fun of me.
Yeah.
Love that song. Love it so much.
It's perfect song for what we were just talking about. Absolutely.
Exactly. So everybody go listen to it. Jessie J, Who's Laughing Now. It's great. Okay, so continue. So what else about yourself?
Yeah, so and I'm sorry you said that, and I just triggered another song, and I'm not really big into country.
Oh, I love country.
And that's funny because I'm not a country fan anymore. I used to be.
Okay.
Then it started sounding like my life, and this was my previous marriage many years ago. But that country song, How Do You Like Me Now? That song is also perfect for that. But anyway,
that's really good.
So we got Leading Through Adversity, America's Best Strategic Security Group. We got a new book that's coming out. Well, my first book coming out here in July.
Woo!
Unmasking Leadership, What They Don't Tell You. It's kind of a little bit of a dark side, angry book about leadership because there's a lot of things that people don't tell you about when you take on a leadership role.
Yes, that is so true.
There's a lot of things that you uncover and you find out, and then you wonder why there is such a lack of qualified leaders in the world, because nobody really wants to do it because everybody forgot to tell you all this other stuff. So,
Yes.
so we got that coming out in July. March of 2022, I'll graduate with my PhD in criminal justice. So I'm excited about that.
Party.
So I told, yes, so I told you I'm retired, but it seems like I'm busier than ever.
Yes. Well, you know what? You're retired from your law enforcement career. You're not retired from life.
That's true. And I hope never to be retired from life.
No. Then what's the point at that, right? Okay, so I have to ask, because if not, it's just going to bug me the entire interview long. Tell me about what is behind you.
Oh, yeah. So here is actually when I was the chief of police in an East Texas city. That department was in a lot of turmoil. It's in a community that's very racially divided. And I was brought in to be a change agent. I kind of joke about it because I say that, they couldn't hire another Caucasian male at the time because of some incidents that occurred. And they were not going to hire by any means an African American. So they kind of settled for this little caramel Mexican guy to come in and try to rearrange things. So, I came in, and that right there is actually 2 years. I got the organization certified and recognized as a best practices agency, law enforcement agency for the state. So that was just an accomplishment award that we got, and then my degrees are all over the place. But this is my Lucha Libre wrestling mask collection, and I actually, back in from 2000 to 2010, while I was still a law enforcement officer, I also owned a independent Lucha Libre wrestling association.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome. It was some of the funnest times of my life. And that mask there with the crossbones is the mask that I used to wear in the ring when I wrestled. And then these are just a collection of, these were other creations that we developed. Wrestling, it's drama, it's stage. So we developed a lot of our own characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's just some memorabilia of some of the happiest times of my life.
That is fantastic. That is so much fun. Yeah, I kept looking and I'm like, hey, I have to ask, or else the entire interview I'm just going to be totally distracted.
Yeah, and I'll move the camera a little bit, and then you'll see the couple of the other
ones. Ooh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah, those were my favorite characters that we developed, and we were excited with that.
Awesome. Well, very cool. All right, so now let's get into the meat of the interview. Mental health. All right, tell us, what kind of mental health have you dealt with?
Well, being in law enforcement for 27 years, the majority of our issues are related to mental health. Mental health is something that for some strange reason has never, up until recently, was never taken serious. I mean, they knew there was a problem, but the solution to fixing mental health was locking people up in an insane asylum when back in the old days, and then when the insane asylums were deemed inhumane and they closed, and then the solution was, well, just throw them out there in the free world without any help, no diagnostics, no anything.
Yeah.
And if you were, and it's funny because we refer to it now as mental health, but 20 years ago, but people in general were referring to, they're just crazy, they're nuts,
It's true, yeah.
But what people don't realize is that every individual out there on God's green earth suffers from some sort of mental health episode once in their life, at least.
Yeah. I mean, you were the second guest to say that.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, if you think about it, sometimes you feel depressed. This morning, what did I tell you this morning? I said, God, it feels like Monday. Yes. My mental health is already kind of deteriorating because it's just like, oh my God, this is just, and that's just for today, right? So being in law enforcement, we see a lot of mental health issues. And one of the biggest arguments that we had was we were always, right now law enforcement is in crisis because they're criticized for not knowing how to handle mental health issues, excessive use of violence, and this and that. Well, law enforcement was never created to deal with mental health issues. That's not
It's
the
true.
purpose of law enforcement.
Yeah.
So, back in 2011 or 12, my sheriff at the time decided that he was going to certify all peace officers in his organization as mental health peace officers.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it is. It's a great idea, and the class was really exciting, and we learned a whole lot of things. But you're talking about a 40-hour class.
Yeah, it's not enough, but it's something.
So now you want me to be an expert in mental health in 40 hours.
Yeah.
And people don't seem to understand that that's not our function. While it helped our organization be able to de-escalate and handle mental health issues in a lot better situation, we were still at the crossroads because we weren't qualified. And then once we dealt with the situation, we would end up arresting the individual. And then when there was no beds at the mental health hospital or anything like that, so what did we have to do? We had to lock them up in jail. And nobody in jail is qualified to handle mental health issues either. So what did we do? We just medicated the problem.
Yeah.
And then by the time a bed became available, they were being released, and you start the whole cycle again, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing about mental health that we deal with in law enforcement is a lot of people forget, and officers themselves, they think that they put a badge and a gun on and all of a sudden they're Superman and they don't suffer from any mental health issues.
Oh, exactly.
And we, as the leadership of law enforcement, have done a terrible job of providing counseling and guidance to our officers to help them guide through the mental health issues that they have. I mean, we see the worst of the worst on a daily basis. So, I mean, you can go from, saving a child's life who happens to be choking to the next call, a major motor vehicle accident where several people are end up dying. And then at the end of the night, when you're finally unwinding, getting ready to go home, you get that one call of a suicide in progress. When you show up, the person ends up, shooting themselves right in front of you, and you're like,
oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine that.
But we don't have any type of counseling. Let me rephrase that. For the longest time, there wasn't any type of counseling or grieving process. Law enforcement has come a long way, and we've done that, especially in my old agency where I used to work. That's something that we implemented and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have the old school mentality, police chief or police administration, who's like, well, in my day, when I was in Vietnam, I saw this and happened, and I'm fine. I don't got no PTSD. Tough up, man up, get out there.
Yeah, it's true.
So mental health in law enforcement and the things that I've seen, and not to mention, my own mental health. I mean, like I said, I tend to be somewhat of an introvert. I prefer, and this sounds so wrong, it's not how I mean it, but I prefer my own company at times, and then at times I can't stand myself.
Yeah, I get that. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I've never had a mental health episode. I mean, I've suffered from depression. I've suffered from anxiety. I mean, every time I was up for a promotion, I mean, talk about the anxiety that's going there, knowing that you beat out 42 individuals and now you're in the top 2, and oh my God, am I going to get this job? And if I do get this job, what the heck am I going to do? How am I going to fix it? And the anxiety just kicks in, Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that we can do a lot better of handling mental health issues if we all just realize that we all suffer from mental health and how important it is.
That's a good point. So let's talk about when you would be in a depressive state. What did that feel like?
It felt horrible.
It
really
would.
did, because and the funny thing is that sometimes I had no reason to be depressed. There was no reason for me to feel the way I was feeling, but I couldn't stop feeling that way. And the harder I tried to understand why I was feeling that way, the worse I felt, because now it's like I can't even understand how I feel. Oh my God, what a loser, and it wasn't till several years ago when you finally realize that sometimes there's things that you can do to deal with that. And there's sometimes that you can't do anything about it, just let the episode pass. And the important thing is understanding your triggers, your triggers. And when a certain smell, a certain, you drive by a certain place, or you see a certain person, or a certain memory comes back, that's when it's like, okay, this is about to happen. I'm gonna
Yep.
start feeling this way, and it's gonna be okay because it'll pass in a few hours. I
Yeah.
gotta go to the gym, or I gotta go stuff my face with a Big Mac because that makes me feel better.
Well, I don't condone that.
No, I don't either, even though now that I said that, I'm craving a Big Mac. But you gotta understand yourself, and then you gotta find yourself some outlets. One of the main reasons why I decided to write a book.
Yeah, that's how I got started too. With my first book in 2017, I took all of the poetry that I wrote when I was in depressive states, and I put them in a book. And then I went, oh, this is a lot of fun. You get hooked, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna keep writing.
And it's funny that you say that. It's we're in the book is in the final editing stage. We've already picked our cover. We know when our release date's going to be. And it seems that the more I read it, the more changes I want to make.
It's true. Sometimes you just need to stop reading it, let somebody else do small edits, but you have to let it go.
Yeah, but it hasn't even been published yet, and I've already got an idea for my second and third book. The second book's going to be easy because I'm just going to take my dissertation from my PhD and publish that into a book. So.
Oh, well, that's good. That's easy peasy.
Yeah, well, I still have a year to write the damn the dissertation. So.
And what is it going to be about, if you're allowed to share?
Yeah, no. So my dissertation is issues and factors affecting small rural law enforcement agencies in implementing a 21st century policing model. Oh my God, that's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
Yes,
of course. But you're writing it, not me.
We'll shorten the title for the book.
Yeah.
But one of the things is the 21st century policing and law enforcement is very important. However, its whole function and focus was on implementing it in large agencies. How do you take the 7 pillars of 21st century policing and implement it into a police agency that has a staff of 5?
Yeah.
They're bouncing from call to call. So how do you do the community service meetings? How do you do the interacting with the community, as opposed to how do you become proactive when you're reactive?
It's true, yeah.
And nobody focused on that. So we're kind of looking at the factors that have impacted. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some rural police agencies that have top-notch 21st century policing models because they are so dependent on the community that they have no other choice than to deal with the community in a certain manner. And that's a perfect example.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm actually writing the history of Crime Stoppers in Niagara specifically, right? Like, I know it started in Albuquerque or whatever. And such a big component of that organization is community, right? So it's kind of that perfect example of what you're saying, is that nowadays you have to interact with the community. We're there, and community is huge now. Not just like, when I first think of the word community, I think of literally where I live and the houses and the people there, but it's also the social media aspect of it, which is blowing up.
Yeah, social media is a double-edged sword for me. While I like it because it helps generate and push my business, it's helped me get a message out. When I was the police chief in the areas that I was, it helped me get a message out. But social media has also impacted people's mental health to the point of the breaking point, of the boiling point. There's so many people out there with such negative vibes and such cruel intentions that they're just looking out to do nothing but cause other people damage and harm, whether it's their reputation or anything like that. Yeah, the trolls, the keyboard warriors who, once you run into them face to face, they're like, hey, I'm your biggest supporter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was an episode of a show. I don't remember what it was. It was on Netflix, I know that. And there was an episode of a show that, I think it was Superstore, actually. And somebody was writing reviews about how horrible this store is. And so the manager has him come in and treats him to lunch, and they, all buddy buddy, and then he goes and writes another bad review.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been there. I had a news reporter who writes for a blog newspaper, which I don't consider a real source. He came to me on the premise of writing a story that was going to help counterbalance some of the negative things that were being said about me, and gave me an opportunity to tell my side of the story. So, he said, here's the things that they're saying about you. And I was able to provide him concrete proof to say that, look, this never happened. There's no truth to any of this, no validity to it. This is who I am, and this is what I am. And he's all like, hey man, that is awesome. Thank you. You're so right. These people have you misunderstood. So what did he do? He went off and wrote a paper that made me even look even more worse than what was already out there. And I was like, wow,
dude,
really, bro?
come on.
I was like, it was funny though, because he kind of says, well, he provided us concrete evidence that what is being said about him is false. We still must be suspicious about.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So in my book, one of the chapters is about perspective, and we talk about perspective and how no matter what you do, 10% of reality is reality and 90% of reality is perception. It doesn't
I've definitely
matter.
talked a lot of perception in these interviews.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you say, what you do. If people just don't like you, they just don't like you. And another way
They'll
to deal
find
with
reasons.
Yeah. Another way to deal with the mental health is to just realize that listening to the noise is one thing, but hearing the noise is a totally separate thing.
It's true. Yeah, people don't often distinguish the difference between listening and hearing. And I'll say it to my kid all the time. Are you listening to me? Yeah. Okay, but are you actually hearing what I'm saying right now? Because
Exactly.
you're not doing what I'm telling you to do, so you're clearly not hearing it.
Mm-hmm. And I think we live in a society where fortunately and unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where I just don't care what you have to think attitude is starting to prevail, because that's the only way that we can defend ourselves now. So, say what you're going to say, because you're going to say it regardless. So knock yourself out. I don't care. And I'm going to go in this direction. And you got to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And that's one of the big reasons for this show, right? Is I want to, talk to other people and show the world that there's support out there. There's things that you can do to help yourself, and there's positivity still.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because, my wife was reading the book the other day, and she's all like, I understand what you're saying, and everything you're saying is true, and it's got a positive tone, but it comes across as you being very angry. And I'm like, well, that's because I am. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? It's like, I'm angry because of the way you're forcing me to have to be. You're forcing me to defend myself in a certain manner. You're forcing me to take certain actions. It's really hard for a person of my nature. My leadership style is being a servant leader, being a team coaching, visionary type of leader. Yet people, are so short with their ability to see vision. They have short-sightedness that they can never comprehend what the big picture is. So they'll do everything they can in their power to fight the growth of that vision. And that's why the country is in the mess that it's in now,
It's true, yeah. All right, so when you're in your low states, your depressive states, or super anxious, what are some strategies that you use to help yourself get up, other than eating a Big Mac?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I eat the Big Mac and I feel great for like 10 minutes, and then I feel horrible for eating it, because I've always struggled with my weight. I fluctuate. I either look really fantastic in great shape, or I look like the balloon that I look like right now. And this is 20 pounds lighter than what I was 3 months ago, so I still got a long way to go.
Yeah. But you should listen to Teresa's episode, because her episode is all about food addiction and stuff. I have no idea if you have food addiction, but it's that concept, right?
Well, I'm a foodie. I don't have a food addiction, but I just love food. and I don't know when to stop. So I guess it is an addiction. Yeah.
But yeah, listen to Teresa's episode. It's
Right. I'm
insightful.
gonna do that. So what do I do is I've created this thing called Do the Seven, and
Okay.
you know a lot of people have their 12-step program, 7-step program, 5. This is I do the 7, and basically like sometimes I'll be driving in my car and all of a sudden something triggers and I realize it. Here we go. Here I'm gonna start thinking about this, and I don't want to think about this. So we do the 7. It's a lot easier to do when you're driving, or when you're out and about, because the next thing I do is I start concentrating on finding 7 different colors, identifying 7
Okay.
different smells, counting to 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then counting backwards, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and then counting to 7 by even and odd numbers. And by the time you've gone through the whole doing the 7 process, it's kind of just passed and you've already forgotten that you were even thinking about that.
That is really neat. You could make a real short book on that one.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's in the works. It's called Doing the
Oh,
7.
okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
so thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
one of the things that we do is, my favorite one is as you're driving is identifying, because it's easy to do,
Yeah.
is identify 7 colors. So as
Mhm.
you're driving, oh, red car, white car, blue car, green car,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it gets a little harder because you're like, man, I didn't realize how many red, white, and blue cars there are. Oh, there's a bunch. And then, so it just shifts your focus and allows you to concentrate on something else.
Yeah. And that's really important because it's changing your perspective on the situation, changing the focus.
Well, if you change your perspective, you change your reality.
Exactly. That's why it's so important. What would you tell somebody right now who is struggling with their own mental health?
You're not alone. You're not alone. Regardless, I know that a lot of the times when you go into your depression or your mental state, the episode that you're acquiring, you're impacted by, it makes you feel like you're alone because nobody understands it.
Yeah.
But you're not. One of the things that I've kind of self-diagnosed myself is with high functional anxiety. Everybody's like, man, this guy's on top of his game. He's going 100 miles a minute. He's got 50 projects at one time. It's like, yeah, you don't understand what the hell is going on inside.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of the reasons, I know when the anxiety starts kicking in is, as you can tell by looking at me on the camera, I start fidgeting, I start looking up, and I'm just trying to, because now it's like, as we're talking, I'm thinking of the other 600 things I still have to do. And so I got to kind of refocus,
Yes.
but you're not alone. You're not alone, and don't be afraid to talk about it. And if you feel like you're alone and there's nobody to talk to, and I used to think this was the dumbest thing ever till I started writing a book and realized what a great outlet it was, is start journaling, journal your experience and learn from them. And that's the best advice that I can give anybody. And then, of course, if none of that is working, then you do need to seek medical advice and see if there's a bigger picture than that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. So where can people, and I know it's not quite published yet, but when it is published, where can people find your book?
Yeah. So one of the cool things is that, we're doing pre-sales now, and we have had, I was actually kind of shocked at the amount of pre-sales that we have. I've been in law enforcement 27 years, and it's nice to understand that a lot of people have actually heard what I've had to say.
Yay!
Because they're actually purchasing the book. Some of the people I recognize, and some of the names I don't recognize. But you can purchase the book pre-sale for only $16. That includes shipping and handling, and it includes it's a hardcover. It's a hardcover book, and it will be signed by me for $16.20. You can find that at jesusedicampa.com or leadingthrough-adversity.com. The book will be launched July 4th on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Booksy, and all the other platforms where you would be able to purchase it. I think the paperback is $15 and the hard copy is $25 or something to that effect. But if you pre-order it, you'll save a little bit of money and you'll get an autographed copy.
Nice. So I will be putting those links in the description below. So make sure that you check them out. And are you on social media? Where can people follow you?
Yeah, so hit us up at leading through it. It's leading _ through _ adversity _ but I'm sure if you just type in leading through adversity, you'll pop it up, but it's us _ So we're on Instagram there. On Twitter, we're leading through adversity, at leading through adversity. On LinkedIn, you can find us at leading through adversity or at Jesus Campa. Facebook, not a real big fan of Facebook.
Oh, really? See, I'm not a fan of Twitter.
Well, I'm not a fan of Twitter either because I don't understand it. We use it, but I don't understand it. And Facebook, it's, in the last 4 years, the last 4 years and this last year during the election, it just got so political and there was so much political trash and garbage that.
Yeah, see, I look for cat videos and cat comments.
Well, and that's the funny thing is that that's what I would like to look at, but because of the nature of my business and since Mark Zuckerberg is always listening, you're in certain meetings and certain words are said, so you start, you're like, man, I don't want to see this.
Yes, that's why I keep saying animal videos.
Animals, right? So, and what I do love is TikTok. TikTok is awesome. So
oh my goodness. Okay, I have a TikTok. I know I don't try to do self-promotion on these. It's all about my guests, but it's not really about me. It's about my animals. So I have a TikTok that if you want to see my adorable animals do their little whatever they do, follow me at Fred, Daff, and the Gang. So I'll put that. Okay. Fred, Daff, and the Gang. I'll put the link in the description below, and I'm going to send you an email with it if you like TikTok.
Awesome. Yeah, I do.
All I ever post is videos of my animals on that.
Right. So we've got our TikTok at Leading Through Adversity, and we're trying to grow that. And it's more about leadership videos, and we're going to start posting it. It's about the book. Now, I'm also trying to grow my personal one. And for some strange reason, I was against TikTok when it first came out, just because
Me too.
I thought it was a younger generational thing,
Yeah.
So my daughter created me a TikTok, and for some strange reason, she named it. My name's not even Pancho, but she named it at Pancho's mom. And all right. I was like, okay. And now that I got into TikTok, I just like it, and I just kept it. So at Pancho's mom. And there,
I'll follow you, you follow me.
Yes, and there you will see my Yorkie doing some of the weirdest things ever.
Yeah. So we're gonna add that in the description below too, because who doesn't love animal videos? Like, really?
Right, especially when they're silly.
Exactly, they're the best. I could talk about animal videos all day long because I love them, but we do have to start wrapping up. So yeah, look for the descriptions, the links in the description below. Make sure that you follow Jesus. Make sure that you show him some love, and when the book is available, actually, you don't even have to wait till the book's available. Hit up the pre-sale. Yep. Why would you want to have an autographed copy and save a little bit of cash?
A little bit of cash, right? That's all. Yeah. That's the name of the game. Save a little bit of cash.
Oh, yes, exactly. Any things for the show?
Well, and it's funny because I like to be positive. Okay,
yes.
and believe me, I've seen a lot of negativity in my life, and it kind of wore off on me. But two things, the one thing I want to say in the positive side is, keep moving forward. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't accomplish what your dreams are. And the only reason they tell you that is because they can't accomplish it themselves.
Yeah.
But the second piece of advice that I have is don't ever let the same snake bite you twice.
Oh. That's a nice one.
As you continue to move forward, you can forgive, just don't forget.
There you go. I love that. So thank you so much for being on the show and sharing, not just about mental health, but all about the really cool things that you've done. And I look forward to seeing your puppy on TikTok.
Yes, she is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was such a fun interview. I cannot wait to see his puppy. I'm totally going to follow him on TikTok, and everybody should follow him on TikTok. Who doesn't like cute animals? And just take his advice, right? Keep moving forward. You just got to keep pushing through it. and seek out help when you need it, right? You're not alone. Remember that the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly about it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, follow along, share these videos out, and I'll see everybody in the next episode. Bye! I'm getting tangled. Bye!